To be very honest, I don't even know where to begin with this. There is so much drama going on right now, but I will try nevertheless. So here it goes. I'm 28 female, and 3 days ago I got married, but it did not go according to plan at all, and it was pretty bad. I have to say that. It's not the wedding itself that was the problem, but it was my sister-in-law. She just ruined everything for us. So here's the deal. My husband, 28 male, and I have been together for the past 4 years. But my sister-in-law, let's call her Lucy, 25 female, she's never liked me. Right from the beginning, I have been able to tell she's had something against me, and she has never bothered to hide it either. Obviously, my husband has always tried to defend me whenever she's made strange remarks about me, or whenever she has tried to make jokes about me, but that has never stopped her. And the rest of her family is pleasant enough, so I try not to take it to heart. But at the wedding, she just crossed lines. In the past, I've always forgiven her and let it go without confronting her or whatever, because I do not want to waste my energy on something so petty. And on top of that, I knew why she acted like that with me. It was very clear that she was just insecure of me. I don't know why, because her parents seemed to love her enough, but yeah, this was her own thing that she was dealing with, and she was just trying to put me down because I guess she was the kind of person who thought that putting another person down was going to somehow make them feel better about themselves. But I'm not so easy to attack, and I never let myself feel too bad about whatever she would say. And at most, she was just annoying, but nothing else. Even at my engagement party, she just sat in a corner and tried a couple of times to make fun of my outfit by making some stupid jokes about it. But nobody really cared, so she didn't say anything after that and left pretty early. Then, a couple of weeks later, she announced that she and her boyfriend of half a year were engaged, and that led to a huge fight with her parents because they did not think that they had been together long enough to get engaged. And personally, I agreed with that. And my husband and I both thought that she was only doing this to make sure that she was the center of attention. But anyway, she ended up getting engaged, and she made sure that her engagement party was a lot bigger than mine. But like I said, I don't really care. However, the wedding obviously meant a lot to me, like it does to anybody else. And the fact that she ruined it is really just unforgivable in my eyes. Everything was going smoothly, and we exchanged our vows, and the ceremony went beautifully. And then at the reception, we were about to start with the speeches and everything, which is when Lucy decided that she wanted to make a little speech of her own. I was already a bit weirded out by that because it didn't seem like something she would want to do, but I didn't want to kick up a fuss about it, so I let her have a go. And that was my big mistake, I guess, because she only spoke about us and congratulated us in the beginning. But then she started up about how she expected a much bigger turnout at her own wedding, which was saying something because our wedding was pretty expensive and we invited like 200 friends and family members. My husband and I are big on saving money, but this time we wanted to splurge a little, and our parents helped a lot as well. So we went a bit over the top, but we have no regrets. But anyway, Lucy made a joke about expecting a much bigger wedding, and then she started saying that she might have to postpone the wedding so that when she actually gets married, she'll be able to fit into her wedding dress, and we were all a bit confused until she made the announcement that she was pregnant. And that was a couple of weeks ago, and she wanted to make this wedding even more special by letting us know now. It was awful because obviously it took a couple of seconds for people to understand what was going on. And even then, nobody knew how to react to that because somebody's wedding is not the place to make an announcement like that. Obviously, I was shocked. I had not expected her to do something like this, and my husband and I were equally annoyed at what she had just done. But before we could even react, her fiance got up and started yelling at her. And the situation became even worse because we realized that he was yelling at her because he was accusing her of cheating. And he was saying that he was not going to accept this child and that he knew what she had been up to behind his back. Not only that, he also accused her of pressuring him into proposing to her, knowing fully well that he was the one who had been interested in her first, but she had led him on for months before she said yes. And even after that, she had been loyal to him only for a couple of months before she lost interest and started hooking up with somebody else. And she had the audacity to pretend that everything was perfect with them and that they were going to get married soon. It was very bizarre. There were a lot of accusations that were flung around, and my husband and I, all the bridesmaids and groomsmen, had to bring the situation under control. Obviously, Lucy and her fiance had to leave, and we were apologizing to everybody for having to witness that. And it was pretty embarrassing, but thankfully everybody had the good sense not to bring it up afterwards. I would say that we were able to smooth over the whole thing pretty well, but in the end, there's no running away from the fact that she definitely did ruin the whole thing with her antics. There is no doubt that everybody who was present at the wedding when she talked about what had happened, and that's just embarrassing. Our wedding was supposed to be a beautiful celebration of our love. It was not supposed to be an embarrassing day for our families. Right now, nobody is speaking to her, not even her own parents, not her brother, and obviously not me. She has tried several times to reach out to all of us and apologize for everything that happened. She has been texting all of us nonstop, but I have not responded, and neither has anybody else. She's been trying to gain sympathy by telling us that her fiance has broken up with her and she needs people to be by her side right now because she's going through something very difficult. Considering the fact that she's pregnant, and I wish I could say that I feel bad for her, but honestly, I really don't. Full disclosure, I don't know if she actually cheated on her fiance or not, but it doesn't matter to me because at the end of the day, she still made my whole wedding about herself and ruined the reception. I'm not going to forgive that, and I don't care if she's pregnant or not. And yes, I know for a fact that she is, because she sent us all a bunch of reports and ultrasound photos. So now, unless she went to the extent of fabricating all of that, she's definitely pregnant. But it doesn't matter. I'm not going to forgive her, and the only reason I'm here to ask if I'm doing the right thing or not is because she actually showed up at the house today. My husband had gone for a jog, and about 5 minutes after he left, Lucy rang the doorbell. And when I opened the door, she started to literally beg me, with tears in her eyes, not to shut the door and at least let her out. Apparently, she had been waiting outside at our house, waiting for her brother to leave for about half an hour, because she knew that he went jogging around this time. I was very cold with her, though. I told her that I did not have anything to say to her, and she needed to make it quick because my husband had made it very clear that we were not to have anything to do with her. Very quickly, she explained to me that nobody from the family was talking to me, but I already knew that, and she told me that she really needed my help. She told me that she wanted me to forgive her and to convince the rest of the family to talk to her at least because she was feeling very alienated from everyone. And she really wanted me to help her out here because, as somebody who is pregnant, she really needed some support. And she couldn't do this all by herself. She started to tell me the whole story with her fiance and everything, but I cut her short and told her that I did not need to know. I also told her that I was not going to be able to help her out because right now everything was just too fresh. I told her that she had made certain choices for herself, and in the past I had always forgiven her, but she had just taken for granted that I was never going to stand up for myself. Well, she was wrong, and I was definitely going to take a stand now. and I was not going to do anything to improve the situation for her because, after all, she has made her bed, so now she has to lie in it. She started crying. She told me she was very sorry. She really wanted to make everything right again, and she hadn't realized how badly this was going to backfire before she did it. So now she believed I was the only person who's going to be able to help, and she hated herself for everything that she had done. She said all that to me, and I felt a little bad, but I told her that she had better go back, and I didn't say anything else before shutting the door on her face. That was a couple of hours ago, and since then I've been feeling very weird. I haven't told my husband about her visit, and I don't know. I just feel very wrong and cruel and guilty. This is not the kind of person that I am, and this is not the kind of person I want to be. But at the same time, I also don't want anybody to think that I'm a pushover who people can just do whatever and say whatever to, and I'll just keep forgiving them over and over again. It's all so weird for me now, and I don't know how to feel about any of this. AITA for not wanting to forgive my sister-in-law and help her get back on good terms with the rest of the family after she announced her pregnancy at my wedding and made it all about herself. Update 1. Okay, so it's been 2 days since my previous post, and I made a decision. I thought that before I even think about the whole situation with Lucy, I would really like to know what she did with her fiance so it can help me form a judgment. A lot of people in the comments were also very curious about that, so I decided to find out. It was awkward because it's not like I had known her ex-boyfriend for quite a long time. They'd been dating for 6 months, and she introduced him to the family 3 months back. So we're not really close friends, but since everything that happened at our wedding, I feel like the least I could get out of this guy was an explanation because, let's be real, he did lose his cool and start yelling at her in front of all our guests. So I reached out to him earlier today and asked him what that was all about. And I asked him if he had any proof of her cheating or whatever. I didn't think that he would respond immediately, but within half an hour, he asked me to call him, and I did. And while we were on call, he explained the whole situation to me. And he even sent me a bunch of photos as evidence to me. And all I have to say is, yes, she definitely cheated. Basically, whatever I got from him and the photos and screenshots he sent me was that he had been chasing after her for about 4 months, ever since he got to know her at a party hosted by a common friend. And she would always act very weird with him. Sometimes she would flirt with him and act like she was very into him. And at other times, she would be very cold and aloof and not even respond to him. He had almost given up hope on her, but then she decided to ask him out, and they went out on a couple of dates, and she seemed to be quite into him. But again, she started acting weird a few weeks into the relationship, and she was just very hot and cold. However, soon after that, she started begging him to propose. She started telling him that she was sure he was the one, and because he really liked her, he decided to do it because he figured that he couldn't do better. And since she seemed so into the idea of marriage, he thought that it would be the only way to get her to stay. And maybe it would be the perfect way to fix her attitude towards him. He said it was naive and stupid of him, but nevertheless, he proposed to her and she accepted, and they got engaged. But after that, it was like a switch had flipped, and she was even worse than before. Either she was full on acting like she loved him more than anything else in the world, or she was raging at him, accusing him of being boring and not good enough for her, and he was already beginning to get sick of her and had started to realize his mistake. But even then, he stayed because he thought he wanted to give her a final chance. And then 2 days before my wedding, a friend sent him some pictures that he had taken of Lucy with another man. Lucy and this other guy were at some concert together, and they looked pretty cozy, so it was very clear that it was not something platonic. And the person who sent him these pictures told him that he had held on to these for about 3 weeks because he couldn't decide whether it was up to him to tell him about something like this or not. But in the end, he had decided to let him know because he felt like he deserved to know what was going on with Lucy, so he could make an informed decision about whether he still wanted to be with this kind of woman or not. And because we were so close to the wedding, and also partly because he didn't want to believe something like this, he decided to give it some time because he had already driven all the way up here. So he thought that maybe he would get it all over with after the wedding, since he did not want to get into a fight with her at the wedding itself. In those 2 days, he also decided that he was going to go through her phone and check out what was going on. And sure enough, she had been having a full-blown affair with some other dude. But he somehow made it through 2 days of the wedding, pretending as if everything was fine because he didn't want to make the whole event about himself. And unfortunately, ultimately, it didn't work out because she decided to make that pregnancy announcement, and that's just when he lost it. So, yeah, whatever Lucy did was insanely messed up. And I have to say, I feel like the only reason she decided to get engaged to this other guy was because she wanted to one up me. And not only is that a terrible thing to do to him, I don't understand why she wanted to beat me so badly. I just don't get it. But I know now that I don't want to forgive her, that I don't want to consider having anything to do with her. She might be pregnant, or that might be a lie too, but I don't really care anymore. Because honestly, I have had it with her. I've shared all of this information with my husband as well, and he told me that I made the right call by not getting into anything with her. Everything has to be so complicated. It just doesn't seem worth it. If people have to forgive her, she's gonna have to earn it herself. I'm not gonna help her out here. Update 2. Hi, so it's been a month and a half since my previous update, and since then, my husband and I have gone on and come back from our honeymoon. And people have still been ignoring Lucy wholeheartedly. My in-laws have told me that she has made several attempts to contact them to try and explain what was happening, but they have made it very clear they need some time to recover from all of this because she really made a total ass out of herself and completely embarrassed the entire family with her antics at the wedding. They said that she had created a situation which made their family seem like the laughing stock for everybody else. And that's not something that they can forgive so easily. So even now, they have not been talking to her. And I know that she's been getting increasingly desperate because even though she had left me and my husband alone for the past couple of weeks, she's back again, trying to get us to talk to her somehow. Please don't think that we haven't blocked her or anything. We have tried it, but it doesn't seem to stick. She always keeps finding new ways to contact us, either by sending us emails from spam accounts or by creating fake profiles on social media to reach out to us somehow. It always begins with an apology, saying that she never meant to do any of that, but in the end, she's always victimizing herself, reminding us that she's pregnant and she really needs people to be there for her. I don't understand why exactly that. I mean, I get that she's pregnant and she needs emotional support because I'm assuming that the father is not in the picture and even her fiance dumped her. But she should have some common sense and know that the people she screwed over are not going to be so easily forgiving so soon. And maybe use that sense to at least hold on to some dignity and try to be self-sufficient instead of constantly trying to make us feel guilty. Anyway, she has spammed both me and my husband several times a day with messages in the past couple of days. And we have obviously been ignoring it. But it's just very annoying to deal with. I don't even want to have to deal with any of this. I don't want to be involved in this situation in any capacity whatsoever. Because, truthfully speaking, I don't think that I can fix it for her. She's the one who dug this grave for herself, so she now has to figure out a way to get out of it. I don't understand why she's so convinced that I'm going to be able to help her out. Besides, she keeps forgetting that it was not just my wedding that she tried to ruin. It was also her own brother's wedding, and if he doesn't forgive her, then really, why would I? Update 3. Hey, so it's been 2 weeks since my previous update, and today my husband and I were having dinner with his parents, and all of a sudden, Lucy just showed up there. She started banging on the door and everything, so my mother-in-law had to let her in because they did not want her to create any sort of nuisance in view of the neighbors or whatever. But once she was inside, it was even worse. She was screaming as loudly as possible, accusing her parents of being the worst, of not caring for her, neglecting her entirely, and everything else. It was bizarre because we had no idea where that was actually coming from. Because in reality, she had actually been pretty pampered and coddled as a child. I'm not saying that I was there to see it for myself, but from literally everything that I have heard from everybody in the family, she was the spoiled one. And my husband was the one who had to tough it out a little bit. And I never found that surprising because she was, after all, the youngest in the family and everybody loved her and her parents literally doted on her. So this accusation that she was throwing at them, the fact that she was saying they had never cared for her properly, it just didn't make any sense to me. And of course, my husband jumped to his parents' defense and told her that she was not going to barge in here and start blaming them for things that had never really happened only because she was upset with them. He told her that she was the only one who was insecure and she had always been that way, be it with me, be it with her own friends. And that's why she never had anybody around her, and she couldn't blame that on her parents because they had always tried their best to give her everything she wanted. But ultimately, she had just grown up to be a spoiled brat who couldn't see beyond herself. And I guess that was true to a certain extent because while she did have people to hang out with every weekend, she did have people to go on trips with. They were always an ever-changing cycle, and she never had any permanent or constant people in her life. Not to my knowledge, at least. I guess it must have rang true for Lucy as well, because as soon as my husband said that, she started crying. She was straight up ugly bawling, and she kept saying that we were being very unfair and cruel, and it was just generally awkward. To be honest, I didn't know what to do with myself at that moment, so I just stayed in my place and said nothing because I felt like this was something that her family had to deal with, and I was not going to insert myself in a situation where I didn't know whether I even belonged or not. So honestly, I was just an observer, but yeah, I have to say, there's something definitely messed up about her right now for sure. And yeah, a lot of you might be wondering how she was even able to tell that we would all be having dinner together. And I'll clear that up for you guys. According to Lucy, she had apparently been waiting outside because she wanted to talk to her parents in person. So she had been building up the nerve in her car. And then she saw us pull up. So she lost her courage, but then she started getting angry. And that's when she barged in to confront all of us. But anyway, after my husband intervened and said all those things, she was just a total mess. She just kept crying and blubbering, and we couldn't get much out of her until she had some water and calmed down a bit. Once that had happened, she started apologizing and started telling everybody that she didn't mean anything that she said. She was just very emotional. She just wanted to be part of the family again, and she couldn't deal with this kind of isolation anymore. She then started telling us that she had lost all of her friends. Nobody wanted to talk to her anymore because her ex-fiance, who had dumped her, had also told everybody else what she had done. And in the past, She has messed around with people, but this time she had gone too far and she was paying the price for it now. She said that she was miserable and she just wanted to stay with her parents for a while, and she was practically begging them to let that happen. Honestly, judging by the looks on their faces, I thought they were going to say no, but thankfully, her parents said yes. And I think that would be the best for her right now because I have to say, she did not look good today, and I'm not talking about her appearance. Clearly, all of this has been taking a toll on her mentally, and she's not doing very well emotionally, and I think she's actually pregnant. I don't think she was lying about any of that. And whatever happened at my wedding, I don't think I have to forgive it, but I also don't think that I have to hold a grudge to the extent where I can't even forgive somebody who is struggling mentally like this, because honestly, what I saw today was just sad. I did not feel angry with her. I just hoped that she would get better. So, yeah, that's what I hope happens. And she's going to be staying with her parents for a couple of days now, but at least until she feels better enough to go back home. I think it's good for her. I think it's just what she needs. And I really hope that she comes out of this as a genuinely better person. I genuinely hope that that's what happens, mostly for her own sake. Update 4. So it's been a year and a half since my previous update, and my husband and I recently found out that we were pregnant. We were not actively trying, but it's still pretty great, and we are very happy. Lucy had her baby a couple of months ago, and we did go to visit her. Since my last update, she's been staying with her parents, and I guess it's good for her. She's been going to therapy for everything. She's seriously tried to make comments. And I'm not going to say that we are friends, but we're definitely not on as bad terms as we used to be. So that's something. She is still working and everything, and her life is basically normal like it used to be, but she goes out a lot less. She spends a lot of time at home reading, and she's made some new friends. It seems like she's genuinely making an effort to improve her life. And from whatever I've seen, she seems to be a good mother. She's serious about motherhood and taking care of her baby. And when I told everybody that I was pregnant, she genuinely seemed to be happy for me. So I think things are getting better, and we are probably never going to be the best of friends or anything. But I really do hope that our children are able to get along better than we did. My husband's also very happy to see his sister being better than what she used to be. And so are her parents, and it's all just really sweetly wholesome. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.